With this case, I can start with the sentence, this is definitely my favorite case from Thermaltake. It doesn't matter if it's a smaller case in terms of it can support micro ATX or ITX motherboards, but all in all, when you take into consideration everything that is going on here, this is without a doubt my favorite case. So today we're going to talk about Thermaltake The Tower 200, as already stated, micro ATX and mini ITX, which is still quite alright, I do have to say, because with the micro ATX you can place 4 sticks of RAMs, and with the mini ITX you can go with 2, it really doesn't matter. But you can place 240 or 280 radiator, as you can see right here on the, well, to you it's on the right side. And you can place a 140 or 120 here at the bottom, and the same thing on the top. But that's not all. Here at the back, you can place either two 120 or two 140 fans as some sort of an additional exhaust or anything similar to that. But that's not all. The way this case is designed, it's really nice, I do have to say. So first of all, we have these two side panels and one front. As you can see, you can place the LCD panel right here on front, because they do have it in various colors depending on the Tower 200 that you decide to buy. You can buy the same one right here that fits perfectly, right? And you connect it directly with your USB 2.0 to your motherboard, and that's all that you have to do, except for installing the application to control the LCD. But regardless of that, right here in the compartment down below, and I know you might already seen everything, but I do have to say, you can place a full ATX power supply. You have loads of space for cables, which for a case such is a bit strange, I do have to say. But you could manage a custom loop inside without a doubt, because it has space, and the GPU can be really long, thick and wide without a problem, because you have space from the top right here right to the bottom of the chassis, and this is really cool. You have dust filters on all sides except for the front tempered glass. You have it here on the back as a magnetic dust filter, and you have a whole dust filter here covering the whole bottom basically, and as well on top, which is, let me just show you, I don't have to, you have 2 clicks, you push it out, and here we go. So it's not a magnetic dust filter, it's more like already pre-attached to the surface of this part on top, the top panel, and that's really cool. On the sides, it is removable and it is magnetic, even though you don't have any special hinges to remove it, but you just push it from this side and that's it. Now, as you can see, I'm really fascinated by the looks on the side, because you can actually see the GPU, you can see everything, and it really does look epic. Let me just show you quickly. It really does look epic. I mean, the GPU on the side, you have the radiator and the fans on the right side, and you have, of course, in the middle the motherboard, the RAMs, and you have the pump block top. So since I already started with everything, let's go through the components. We have here the Gainward RTX 4070 Phoenix GS, which you already seen a couple of million times. Then we go with the new motherboard that I have here, and which will have a dedicated review. That is ASRock Phantom Gaming A620i Lightning Wi-Fi, and I paired it up with AMD Ryzen 5 7600X. Now next to that we have TOUGHRAM D5 RGB. Those are 2 × 16 gigs on 5600 megahertz. We have toughliquid 240 in turquoise color, as well as the case, as you can see, and the RAMs are in that color as well. And right here at the bottom we have Thermaltake's Tough Power GF A3 1050 watts. I know it's too much for this rig, but I really wanted to place everything from Thermaltake inside this build and make it look, let's say, unofficial when we're talking about certain brand and their products. So what's it all about? You must be wondering, how are you accessing the ports on the motherboard, connecting everything and all the other stuff. Comparing this case to any other almost case that uses, let's say, reversed position or inverted position of the motherboard, where the motherboard ports are on top or on the bottom, it really doesn't matter. This one has it done properly, because you don't have to remove this panel, because it is really easy removable. You just pop out this part right here, and you have two holes at the back. This gives you an option to reroute the cables here, connect everything to motherboard and the GPU, and then just put the cables running at the back. The cool thing is that the case stays flat, straight, because you have only tempered glass here on front if you desire to watch your PC build and admire it, how it looks nice and clean. Now, I also added cable extensions here because I really wanted to make this build look outstanding, and everything fits. The power supply shroud compartment has so much space, it's unbelievable. And it's quite straightforward. You remove the top panel, you remove the side panels, and then you have three thumb screws here at the bottom. You do have to use the screwdriver to remove them, and each of these small panels are easy removable, and that's the whole point. The case, as already stated, I mean, I have nothing to say when we're talking about the design. The final finish on the color is quite great, and the color on the steel and on the plastic matches perfectly. So yeah, I think this is quite cool. I think this is a quite cool case, and I think you'll be really satisfied when we go a bit further into details when we're talking about specifications, but specifically you'll be satisfied when we go through the benchmarks. So what I forgot to mention is that you get two pre-installed CT140 fans. One is here at the back and one is here on top. I removed that fan on top and placed it at the back to have two 140 as an exhaust, even though in this configuration you have only one intake, and that intake is going from the bottom of the power supply shroud. So I don't know if reverting the fans on the radiator to make an intake from the outside, giving nice cold air to the radiator, cooling the liquid, and still giving some nice cool intake to the inside of the components, but it doesn't affect the GPU because the GPU doesn't get cold air from this part. It takes the cold air from the separate source on the side panel, and that's it. Now, it also has space for 4090, standard size PSU, and all the other stuff. So let's check the details. When we're talking about storage possibilities, you have a possibility to mount two 3.5-inch hard drives and two 2.5-inch SSDs, or 4 times 2.5-inch SSDs. For the GPU expansion slots, you have 3 of those, so you can mount RTX 4090 as already mentioned. CPU cooler height limitations 200 millimeters. GPU length with power cover 280 millimeters, without it 380 millimeters. The power covers are inside the box, they aren't placed directly on the case because, I don't know, they decided to pack them separately, and it's up to you to decide. I mean, it's all up to you, of course. And the PSU length 220 millimeters, which is outstanding. Now, I/O ports, we have one USB 3.2 generation 2 Type-C, we have two USB 3.0, and we have HD audio, plus of course we have power on button and the reset button. That's not all. Why? Well, because with this type of case, you do have to manage your cables. And I'm not talking about the cables from the power supply running through the GPU, because you can see it right here. It's logical where the 24 pin goes and 8 pin EPS. But what about the top fan? What about the bottom fan? What about everything that is going here at the back? And of course the two fans at the back. Here's the catch. So what you do is you have 3 clips on each side here at the back. And they are so well designed, even though at first I thought, wow, these are so flimsy, this isn't going to work. But I figured out the mechanism behind it quite quickly. The side bars here that are holding the side panels are actually a bit dent in, so when you decide to reroute the cables, you reroute them on the sides, and this gives the clearance for the fans to fit here at the back. Even though you do have some rubber grommets to reroute the cables like 24 pin and everything else, this is the only place I used zip ties. And the only reason why I use them is to, let's say, lock in place the 24 pin so it doesn't wobble when I place the fans at the back and doesn't create additional unnecessary noise while the blades hit the cables, right? So the cable rerouting mechanism here at the back is outstanding. You reroute all the cables on the sides depending on which cable goes where, and what you do, you use those clips and you push them inside the metal frame of these panels, which is great because they stick. They actually don't move. They don't flip out, the cables don't get loose at any single point, and this is why I'm satisfied with the case. I didn't expect it. I honestly didn't expect it, but here you have my honest opinion about the case, which is wow. Now the only thing, I do have to grab myself a gold one because, well, you've seen the case here at the back already a couple of times, and I really dig that color scheme when we're talking about gold, black, white combination. That would be an interesting build, definitely. Now let's go with the benchmarks. I'm talking too much about specs and why I'm fascinated about it. Here's more. So, AIDA64 Extreme Edition. So 7600X went up to 76 degrees Celsius, and we have clock speed going up to 5450 megahertz. GPU is at 61 degrees. So let's be honest, this GPU went up to 64 in some other cases. That's brilliant. Then we have Cinebench. So you usually either think of consistency, thermals, clock speeds, and scores, right? So in this case, we have a constant of 75 degrees Celsius in Cinebench. So that's 1 degree lower than in AIDA64, which you already noticed in my other benchmarks. And then we go with the clock speeds. Now this consistency, I'm shocked. The first benchmark was 5325, and everything else after that is 5300, and it stays there throughout the whole 10 tests. Now, of course, the benchmarks will vary, and they won't vary above 50 plus minus Cinebench scores. So we have 14,500s, and it's always circulating around there, which is outstanding. Of course, I did reach with some other AIOs like 360 AIOs, 7600X reached actually 15,000. I think that was only in one scenario, but this is a 240 AIO, and these scores are great. These scores are great when we take into consideration that 240 is cooling. So what I can say is I'm really satisfied, really satisfied. I haven't been satisfied with the Thermaltake case this much for a long time. And it's not that I think the other cases were bad or lacking, or there's always something to tweak about, right? There, you can always find a case where you can modify some things, add some parts or anything else. And well, there is one thing, of course, which maybe there are some other things, but this is what I noticed. This panel, the side panel here and on the other side, can be removed if you don't remove the top panel. And when you remove this panel, then you have a possibility to remove with 4 pegs that are holding here. But why is this top panel so important for the side panels? It has, let's say, some sort of a safety lock or locking mechanism. When you placed it on the side panels, this top part right here is keeping these side panels from not flipping out at any point of, I don't know, earthquake maybe, whatever. The pegs are holding quite nicely, and we've seen in other cases that the pegs on the sides are holding even tempered glass without any additional support from the thumb screws. So yeah, but that's just something to give, I don't know, it's not a negative thing, just to say something that it isn't all positive, that's all. So regardless of that last part, this case, Thermaltake The Tower 200, deserves PC Crazy approved badge without a single doubt in my mind. Really love it. If you like smaller motherboards, but still you want to have a chunk of a GPU, place it inside, that's it, guys. This is quite an outstanding case. I really love it. I do have to say, really have to admit, really love the case. And because of that, I'll place the link for the Tower 200 in the description below, and all the other Thermaltake parts, as well as the GPU and the motherboard, so you can eventually build such a build if you don't decide to go with a 280 radiator, a stronger motherboard with more possibilities and better VRMs and a stronger CPU. It's all up to you to decide. But for this configuration, I'll place all the parts in the description below, so you could eventually copy it if you desire to do so. But before you go, if you really like the video and you like the build and you like the case specifically, and to support the channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and click the notification bell eventually to see some future build, or if I decide to go with the gold one. That's it, guys. That's it for today. Thank you for watching and sticking by throughout the whole video. Really means a lot. and I hope I will see you next time. Bye bye.